Hey guys, Scott Poley here, and welcome to the Aberdeen Music Hall for this little rig rundown and show you some of the guitars and the gear we use on stage with Rumours of Fleetwood Mac. So firstly, I'm going to show you probably the most Fleetwood Mac specific guitar in my world, which is this Rick Turner Model 1. Hand built by Rick Turner and his team. This is a Lindsey Buckingham classic. Lindsey Buckingham's been using these guitars on stage since the Rumours tour, and it's owned by the show. It sounds like Fleetwood Mac live gigs, and it's a monster. It's a great instrument, really unique sound. It's got this single pickup which is mounted with this single screw on the back, so it can actually adjust which angle you can put this pickup at. So there's some piezo pickups in this bridge, and there's a blend pot on the top here which I use a lot on songs like Silver Springs in the set. That's a really good option. It does also have some active electronics. It has a couple of batteries which are located under here, but we tend not to use the active electronics. Strings wise, most electrics on this for me are strung up with 10 to 52 gauge strings. Next guitar is a really kind of controversial guitar that I use a lot during the show, and it's this. It's a Line 6 Variax. A lot of people don't like these guitars, and it's a digital guitar. So I bought this a couple of years ago. We were doing some fly dates going to South America, and I needed a guitar that could do a load of different sounds and a load of different tunings. I could only take one instrument with me and rent a couple of acoustics on tour. So I got this. It's got two humbuckers built in. These are the stock pickups. They're absolutely great. They sound great. They're kind of Path humbucker type pickups. It has a master volume and a master tone, and then it has this switch which changes between the modelled sounds located within this bridge and the electronics in the back of the guitar. So what I can do here is call up different presets during the show, so I can have Strat type sounds that I use on a song called As Long As You Follow or Rhiannon. I use a banjo sound that's located within this, or if we do fly dates, I pretty much do the whole gig on this one instrument. Typical kind of Scott mods, Jim Dunlop strap locks. It's got Goto locking tuners, which are absolutely great. Bone nut fitted by Phil at Doghouse Guitar Repairs. And that's pretty much it. This is a great instrument, and they're not a huge amount of money. I'd highly recommend you go and check them out. So another really great instrument that I have here is this guitar. This is a Recording King. A lot of people think this is a Martin, but it's not. My Martin stays at home in the studio. This is kind of a Chinese copy of a Martin, but it sounds really, really fantastic. It's got a laminated kind of mahogany back and sides with this kind of cool tortoiseshell binding and scratch plate, and it's got this roasted maple top, and it's really solid. It sounds great. Sounds fantastic, and it stays in tune. It's got Grover tuners that came stock. I don't think we've done too much to this instrument. We put these glow-in-the-dark markers that we put on the side just because we have such a dark stage a lot of the time for changeovers. It's got an LR Baggs Anthem piezo pickup thing system in there, and that's really the key to this. It's an awesome sounding acoustic live. The other thing that took it to the next level, and if you're an acoustic guitar player, you should definitely check these out, are the FU Tone metal bridge pins. These are the titanium ones. I have others in the Takamine, which I'll show you in a minute, but they really brought this guitar alive. So that's the Recording King, used on most acoustic tunes. This is strung up with Elixir 12 to whatever they have, Elixir standard gauge 12s. And G7 capo on that one. Moving swiftly on, this is a great little guitar. This is my resonator that I use on the tour. This is a Gretsch bobtail, whatever they're called, with the Fishman pickup located in it. Again, Grover tuners. These are actually a replacement set because I wore the first set out, but these are great. They sound awesome. We use them on songs like The Chain, the beginning of The Chain, World Turning, Goldest Woman was a resonator as well. And this travels really well. It sounds great. It's not a hugely expensive guitar, but if you're interested in getting into resonators, this is a great option. No modifications on this. It's strung up with a really heavy set because I play slide on it. So it's 13 gauge, and then we replace the first string with a 15 for slide. So that's the resonator we use for the show. Now, if you've watched my channel before, you will have seen this guitar. It's my Gibson Les Paul Standard. It's a Les Paul Standard faded from mid-2000s. I did a specific video all about this instrument, which you can see on the channel. I'll link it in the top right-hand corner right now. This is the guitar I use for all the Peter Green stuff during the set, so it's got the specific, these are Oxford pickups, Mark Stowe in Oxford. We're also thinking of trying out some different pickups on these, just to see what works for the best. But yeah, this is a great kind of standard Les Paul. A couple of modifications on this, vintage bone nut. I put some Goto locking tuners. This is a cool little thing actually. I do a lot of songs with this at the front of the stage and I don't have a tuner anywhere near me. So this is just like a little D'Addario stage tuner that a lot of people use for ukuleles, but it works great for this. Electronics, actually I need to replace the pots or certainly clean them out on this because they're a bit scratchy, but we'll get to the end of the tour. But yeah, that's the Les Paul. Next up, we have a guitar that I'm actually not using just at the minute. We use this guitar mainly for a song called Never Going Back Again. This is a Takamine Santa Fe, mid-90s, early 90s. It's a kind of special edition one with these fancy inlays. Great sounding guitar. It's got the FU-tone bridge pins as well. These are the brass ones, I believe, thanks to Adam at FU-tone. This has got gauge 13s, I think, on there, or maybe 12s now. But yeah, another great sounding instrument, but the Recording King has probably a slightly more natural sound with the LR Baggs pickup, so we tend to prefer that one, but another great sounding instrument. Finally, this is the Go Your Own Way guitar. Let's see if I can fit the headstock into the shot. This is a Gretsch 12 string that is actually belongs to my good friend Jeff Allan Ross. It was donated to the Peter Asher band for a couple of shows we did with Peter Asher, and it's an awesome 12 string. It has the Gretsch Fishman pickup system that comes stock, and we like to thank Joe Carducci at Gretsch because he's an awesome chap. Bone stock, great sounding 12 string we use for one song, which is Go Your Own Way, and it's got the sound, works great plugged in. It is absolutely huge. It's like a bigger J200 Gibson, so yeah, but awesome instrument. It's Elixir strings on all the acoustics, and the Tour supplies Ernie Ball strings for the electric, so we use those 10 to 52s on those instruments. So yeah, that's it for the guitars. So coming over to my side of the stage, there's very few things over here really. The show uses fractal units, so we have Axefx 3s on both mine and James's side of the stage. They're perfectly usable, good sounding units, and we put everything through those at the moment. I am actually looking to possibly change up my Peter Green setup and use a real amp again. I used to use my little Walter 50, which sounded incredible, and maybe for the tour next year, so we'll look at that. But a couple of things that are really cool here. I'm using this great slide that you should all know about. Again, I made a video about this because I really believe in the company. They're great people as well. This is a mag slide. I use this one slide for the whole gig on all my acoustics and electrics. Sounds great. This is the, whatever the model is that changes colours. It's great, but it's called the Aurora. Go figure. But yeah, great slide, really lightweight, great tone, sounds great on acoustics and electrics. So thanks to Tom and the folks from Magslide for giving me a few of those to use on tour. A key to my stage setup and the amount of changes I have to do is using this, which is a Neutrik silent jack plug. They're quite expensive. They're about £10 or kind of $12, $13 each, but they have a little switch built in. They really help the changes, so I can pull the lead down, it doesn't make a noise. So top little tip there for you. Standard yellow Tortex picks for the whole gig. Nothing fancy there. We've gone through strings. In terms of the pedal board, it's all just the fractal stuff, so it's the fractal big pedal board. I have two expression pedals, one for volume and one that kind of increases the delay time or the mix or various things, rotary speaker, speeds, that kind of stuff. I'm using a Line 6 wireless. The G70, 75, something like that is on the board for when I go to the front of the stage and do the blues stuff. That works really well. It's consistent. Ironically, we're having a few problems with it today, but such is life. I've got Bright Onion pedals, ABC switcher, which works great just for changing between wireless and a cable. And finally, the only other pedal I have, which is I control the show, so all the graphics, and we play to a click for certain songs, so we in time with the original music videos and stuff like that. It's quite an interesting part of the show. So I have the show go button, which is to start the show and to start certain songs. We're in bass corner with one of my favourite bass players and one of my best mates on the planet, Etienne Girard. Etienne is here. We're going to talk about bass.
Let's do it.
So, what's your main bass on this gig? Of course, you're covering the bass lines of John McVie. What's your main kind of go-to for this gig, Etienne? It's a bass that we both know quite well, isn't it, actually?
It is. Well, to my knowledge, it's a 1974 precision bass, Fender precision bass.
So it's a beautiful old, all-original bass, isn't it, pretty much?
Pretty much, yeah. Just the scratch plate's been changed really. Well, a couple of parts as well, but
couple of bits, nothing too major.
Yeah. But
it's just a stunning sounding bass. This, I mean, I actually bought this bass originally from, shall we say, an undisclosed location.
Yeah, let's keep it at that.
Yeah, let's keep it at that. But
all legal.
Yeah, absolutely. But original pickup.
Yes.
Is it? Yeah, and.
Yeah, tuners, everything else, yeah, pretty much as it is. Just replace the scratch plates and yeah. And it just sounds glorious.
Oh, it's a great bass. I mean, so many gigs on this bass by you, and so many years in a smoky room as well. Quite clearly,
yeah, it looks like it's been hung in a smokehouse. It's well, yeah, it's like a kipper.
It's absolutely brilliant, and just consistent, great sounding bass. I'll tell you what, we may as well talk about picks, because you've got a couple of picks wedged in the pick card here. John McVie, does he play with a pick regularly on his songs? That's not something I know a lot about, really.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he tends to swap between both styles, really, depending on the song. And I use it quite a lot throughout the show. You know.
Are there any specific picks that you like to use?
Well, as you can see, these are all tortoiseshell ones. I really like the extra heavy gauge ones. These are Fender ones, and then just whatever I can find, really. They seem to be quite hard to find in the UK. But,
and strings, flat wounds?
Yeah, flat wounds. These are D'Addario Chromes. I think ECB 82, so they're the really heavy ones, and they work really well for this.
Absolutely, great. Moving on.
There you go. So this is what I believe is a 1979 Fender P bass, as you can see, but along the way, someone, not me, has had it converted to a fretless. I believe it was done by the luthier John Shuker, and put this lovely neck on it, new fingerboard.
So it's the original neck, but with a new ebony fingerboard.
I believe so. Yeah. And again, it's a very heavy sounding bass, but it seems to work really well for this, because it's just got a great tone to it. It's also had the jazz pickup installed, and someone swapped the bridge for this really heavy.
It's a really heavy duty brass Fender thing, isn't it? Really unusual. We were looking at this the other day, weren't we?
I believe it's off. It must be off an early '80s Fender. It's an early '80s Fender design, but I really like it. It just works really well with this instrument, and also I've just swapped the scratch plate over to this anodized pickguard, and it's got a bit of that Mo Foster vibe. It's just a really nice instrument.
Now you need to go and check out Mo Foster, one of the kings of bass guitar.
Yes, killer session player.
Absolutely. Yeah. Modifications on this. There's a new pickup in this, isn't there, that you put in?
Yeah, this both pickups have been replaced. They're both Nordstrands. I think it's an MP4 in the front, and it's the split vintage, I think, in the back. And yeah, both great sounding pickups. New pots, obviously, at the same time, and yeah, it's great. I use this on tracks like The Chain and Sarah, and it's just,
This is what I didn't know about this. I mean, we talked a lot about this in rehearsals, didn't we, that John McVie used a fretless on The Chain, that famous bass break that we all know from the Formula One, and just a huge hit. Yeah, absolutely. Well, we certainly both do, but yeah, that was an alembic fretless, we reckon, on the original.
Yeah, I mean, that's what John McVie plays a lot live. You know, if you look at old Fleetwood Mac concert footage, that's what he tends to use for it. But when I started with Rumours Of Fleetwood Mac, I was playing this on the jazz bass that we'll get to shortly. But after some research, I thought, got to try and do it properly, do it on the fretless, and Luckily, this came up for sale right about the same time I was looking for something, and yeah, this is great.
It's an amazing sounding instrument, and it's a really fantastic fretless player as well. So yeah, brilliant. Now, moving on to another Fender bass. It's Fender, Fender, Fender for you, isn't it, on this gig, really?
Yeah, I mean, they get the job done.
Is there any other kind of bass, frankly?
Not for me, really. Yeah, I've tried pretty much all of them. Yeah.
Now, this bass was the first bass that I ever saw you play when we played our first gig together.
Was it?
Over 10 years ago, yeah.
All right, okay.
Tell us all about this bass. This is
a bit of a mongrel bass, really. When I bought it at the time, it was it's a US 62 reissue Jazz, and had a black body. It was very heavy, and you know what? It didn't actually sound that good. And then a few years later, after being a bit dissatisfied and thinking about selling it, I found some guy online that was selling this body, which is apparently a Japanese body, in this lovely white finish, and bought it and put the two together with the US neck, and it just transformed it. It just sounds amazing now. The other thing I've done is I've swapped this to Nordstrand NJ4 pickups as well.
Yeah.
And yeah,
the Nordstrand stuff is so good, isn't it? Because they do kind of vintage Fender style sounding pickups, but with, are they noise cancelling?
These are your bog standard single coils.
Okay.
Which is how I run this bass for the show all the time anyway. But yeah, they just sound like a really good set of Fender pickups.
Yeah.
You know how they should sound from the factory.
And you're on flats for all these instruments, aren't you?
Yeah, these are also D'Addario chromes. I forgot to mention when we looked at the fret list that I'm using labellas on that, which really suits it.
Yeah.
But for this, the chromes are the way to go. They've got just enough top end, so when you are using the pick, you get plenty of bites, but you don't get all the extra zingy stuff, which doesn't really suit what we're going for. You know, trying to recreate the sounds. Yeah, these use a kind of a polished kind of chrome tape over as the final wrap on the strings, rather than the round wounds that you'd expect with rotor sounds, for example. And it just gives a really nice tone, and they last a long time as well. They're just they really work.
A couple of standard modifications that you and I both do to our basses: bone nuts, the Jim Dunlop strap locks.
Yeah,
just kind of throughout.
Have to have them.
You've got the stack knobs on this bass as well, which is great.
I have, yeah. So that's how the bass came with them. Obviously, yeah, I've played this bass a lot, so it's been through. I think it's on its third set of pots now, which is an expensive hobby.
Yeah, absolutely.
The other thing, I don't know whether you can see it, there's a little switch there that I put in, which is it's a series parallel switch. It's something that I tried in other instruments, and it works really well for when you want a bit more bump on the low mid-range. And I don't tend to use it too much with this show, but it's really good, say, when you're doing a covers gig or something like that, where you need to cover stylistically a lot of ground. It's really good to kick that in for certain tunes.
Now we'll go and have a look at the pedal board on another camera, but the pedal board's really kind of lean and mean for you, isn't it, Ed?
It is, yeah. I mean, the whole show is really, we try not to use any backline whatsoever, so we're going straight in. So I've got a pedal board going to DI boxes, and that's it really.
Tell us a little bit about the switch, the bass switch. Who is that made by?
Yeah, that's made by a company called RMI, and it uses Layla switches in it. Unfortunately, it's discontinued, which is a shame because it's a fantastic piece of gear. But that's kind of the brain of the pedal board. That's where I plug the instruments into and kind of control everything from there.
Yep.
So we've got two leads going out. We've got the P bass, which is my main bass, the 74. That's plugged into the main channel, and then I use the second channel and use the jazz and the fretless between it.
And that's got a bunch of EQs and different bits. You've also got things like a Cali 76.
Yeah, we've got the Cali 76 compressor, which is great. That's new for this year's tour. I've tried a couple of different compressors, but I'm liking what I'm getting with this so far. It seems to.
It's like a studio grade compressor in a pedal, isn't it?
It is. That's kind of the thinking behind it, and works great.
And then the microtubes. Is that a dark glass thing? The microtubes?
It is. Yeah, the vintage microtubes. Again, I kick that in and out depending on what ground we're trying to cover. The older tunes that Fleetwood Mac do, especially the blues stuff. That's what I use that pedal for mainly. But it just gives it a nice bit of a bit of crunch to the tone that I probably would get if I was using an amp head. It just gives you a bit more beef. It just works really well.
And then you're going out to a ready DI box, which is another key to your sound for this as well, isn't it? It gives it that nice amp-rich depth.
Yeah, just the combination of this this DI box with the pedals, it just seems to get a really good tone overall.
This man is one of the absolute keys to this show, and you should go and check him out. He's one of the finest bass players in the land. Thanks so much, Etienne.
Thank you, mate.
So, we're with James Harrison. James covers a lot of the Lindsey Buckingham stuff in the show, and we share a lot of guitar duties, and a lot of the show is on this guitar, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah.
One of the heaviest guitars on the planet.
It is the heaviest guitar, the heaviest guitar on the planet.
It's a mid-70s Les Paul.
I'm pretty sure it's 76. So I looked it up a few years ago and I've just forgotten. But yeah, I think it is 76.
76 Les Paul custom.
Yep.
So yeah, really solid mahogany body,
Yep.
ebony fretboard.
Yep. Wine red. Changed the pickups in this as well, so it hasn't actually got the originals in. It's got the OX4s in now, which made it just sound a bit sweet, a bit more open, I'd say.
And Lindsey Buckingham, of course, used a Les Paul custom. There's loads of photos and videos with a white Les Paul from a similar era, isn't it, really?
Yes, and that was because of the Peter Green thing.
Well, yeah, well, Mick Fleetwood said, no, you don't play a Strat, you're playing a Les Paul if you join this band.
Hopefully not as heavy as this one.
Good luck to him if it was, but yeah, it's a great sounding piece of kit. Have you done any other modifications to this, James? I think it's probably had a new nut, hasn't it?
A new nut on it, obviously just been set up. I think that's it actually, yeah, I think that's all done.
Great. Now, by comparison, this guitar feels like it's going to float away.
Yes, this very light, and this is made by Charles Whitfield in the States, recommended by Scott.
Yeah, those of you who've watched my channel before will know that I'm a big fan of Charles Whitfield and his guitars.
Love the Strat hardtail. Again, Charles was all into the tone of the hardtails. Just says that you just get a better tone, better sound, and if you're not really into the sort of tremolo kind of technique, which I'm not really into that much, he just said go for the hardtail. So yeah, lovely Strat.
It's a great Strat.
In fact, actually, when Charles made this, he has guys who test his guitars out for him, and I can't remember his name now, but one of the top players in his area said it was the best Strat we'd ever made.
Well, there you
so
go.
far, so I was quite lucky with this one.
Now, in terms of modifications on this one, we've actually there's another video that will be on the channel soon, or may already be on the channel by the time this is posted. We've just shielded this guitar, haven't we, because we were having a few problems with noise.
Yes, bird noise.
Because they're the original single coil vintage style pickups, and
absolutely,
with all the lights that we have and different power across the world, it just makes a degree of sense.
Especially in the States, when we went out with this, it was, I'd say,
problematic.
50% unusable in a lot of venues.
But hopefully that should do the trick. Frets and stuff are original, aren't they? And
the nut was replaced. Again, quite a common thing sometimes when you get a new guitar. But yeah, really nice Strat, really sort of.
And what
vintage.
songs do you use this on, James?
So this on a few things: Gold Dust Woman. What else? Landslide. All the sort of tunes that Lindsey used the Strat on, always, most of the time in middle position. Sometimes we just go between the two, the bridge in the middle. But yeah, it's a lovely guitar to play, and it doesn't give me backache. Okay, so this is another Strat, obviously, sort of 90s Lone Star. The main purpose for this guitar, other than having a backup for the Whitfield, is the noiseless pickups and the humbucker in the bridge. So it's a kind of all-rounder, really. So if we're going to the States, doing fly gigs, I can pretty much do the whole gig on this guitar. And also acts as a backup if I break a string on the Les Paul. I've got a humbucker option.
You've got a nice full humbucker sound. And
yeah, so I can. So it's very sort of adaptable. Also, what's kind of nice about this is you can go onto sort of the bridge and activate the neck and the bridge, and that kind of gives you sort of a middle position on the Les Paul. Which
I didn't know your guitar had that, to be honest.
You recommended it, I think.
Did I?
Yeah, I think you did, yeah.
Oh, there you go then. In terms of the pickups, it's a Seymour Duncan
Yes.
JB or something in the bridge, probably, I would imagine.
I mean, one day I might replace that with something else.
And the Kinman's the other one, aren't they?
Yeah. If you've got a really noisy venue for whatever reason, this guitar is just kind of bulletproof, really, and kind of just does everything. So it's useful.
And you do have one more electric guitar, which I'm going to show later on, which is a brand new acquisition on this tour, because it was a certain someone's poignant birthday, shall we say, and we'll just leave it there. Add it in the comments as to how old you think James actually is.
Be kind.
But you've got a new Telecaster.
Yes.
We've got you in the Telecaster Club.
Yeah, never had a Tele before. Wanted one for a few years now, and it's a thin line, sort of 1960s surf green Telecaster. So based on the sort of thin lines that came out in the late 60s. Got the F-hole in it, so it's kind of it originally was for the weight, because they had weight problems with ash. I think, was it ash?
Yeah.
But with that sort of modification to make it basically lighter, it does have its own sort of characteristics as well, which I kind of like. So.
Great. Should we get on to some acoustics?
Yeah, let's do it. So yeah, I got this a few years ago. It's nice Taylor. It's I actually find with the Taylors, they sound, well, this one anyway, sounds nicer acoustically than it does plugged in. Because for me personally, Taylor's got a very distinctive sound, which works on some things and not on others. So in some songs there shines, and other songs you really want something else. But it is a really nice guitar. Plays really, really nicely.
You've got the same bridge pins that I've been using on my guitar from FU-Tone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So thanks, Adam.
So you do sort of notice it just makes it a bit brighter, and sort of, so I think just makes the string resonate a bit better. It is a nice guitar, no doubt. A good all-rounder, but I think one day I'll probably get something nicer, I don't know. But it does sound good. It does sound, as I said, acoustically sounds great. So yeah. Okay.
This is another fairly new acquisition for you, although it's not a new guitar, is it, Joe?
No, it's not. It's a 2000 EAM 10C Takamine, renowned for just being very reliable. Yeah, I just find, I guess, with a lot of acoustics, when I was talking about the Taylor, this shines on some songs, and if you put it on another song, it doesn't really work as well. So it's all about having that sort of, that choice of guitar, and also need another acoustic just in case something else goes wrong with the Taylor or this. You've got a backup.
And tell me, what strings are you using on this, James? You're on Elixirs, I know that much.
Yeah, Elixirs 12s.
And is that the same on the Taylor as well?
Same on the Taylor, yeah. And also this guitar on this tour features on a song called Say Goodbye. And that's tuned down to sort of open F sharp 7, I think, from memory. It's a very weird tuning that Lindsay wrote a song on. It gets put through its paces because it gets tuned down really low and then tuned back up to standard tune at twice a day. And it's done really well for me. So
Absolutely, it's a great sounding instrument. Also, we were talking about strings, electrics wise. We didn't actually really mention what strings do you use on your electrics.
So Les Paul's it's just 10 standard and
10 to 46.
Yeah, 10 to 46, and then because we have a lot of drop D tunings, I use the 1052s.
Yeah.
Just to get that bit of extra weight in the bottom end of the guitar. But
one last guitar.
Last one. So this is the Godin nylon string, used on this tour for 2 songs, Man of the World, because it had a nylon in it, and also Big Love, so the solo for Big Love, obviously. And I'm not actually sure what Lindsay used for when he did Big Love. He didn't use a Godin, did he?
He used a Gibson Chet Atkins model that was modified a lot. I think they even split, so each pickup has a different output and stuff like that. It's mentioned on one of their rigs. But this is it's a great kind of very convenient acoustic to play live with, minimal feedback issues and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and in terms of amps and effects, while we're here, it's straightforward for you, isn't it?
Absolutely, dead easy peasy. So yeah, just the Axe effects, and probably as Scott's gone through before, because of the different effects that they use and all the different distortions and everything else, it would be almost impossible to do switching from one song to the other without pressing a hell of a lot of pedals. So the Axe effects is the compromise to kind of deal with all of that and to try and be as authentic as possible to the studio.
And you've got a 3 and you're using the 2 as a backup, aren't you? That's pretty much you done, isn't it?
That's it, yeah.
Thanks, James. Top that. So we're here with Cosy from Rumours of Fleetwood Mac. Cos started the band. When did you start the band, Cos?
Wow, 22 years ago. 22 years
And your
ago.
role in the band is playing all the Mick Fleetwood stuff, and unlike me who's got, 5, 6, 8 guitarists to copy their stuff, you've got one drummer for all those years.
Yeah.
And you've got one kit for all those songs as well.
I have, yeah. It's a DW performance kit. If you just have a quick look at the kit, and I'm sure Scott will show you around it later, you'll see everybody always asks, you've got the toms inverted, so you've got a 12 into a 10. Well, that's kind of the Mick Fleetwood setup. So we have 12, 10, 14, 16. But when you actually play the patterns of Mick Fleetwood, because of the pitch of the drums, the rhythms, they just lock in, they all fall in.
And that makes sense to a vintage kind of Ludwig kit or whatever Mick started with a single rack tom, and then.
Yeah.
But this DW setup, is this something you've been using for a long time, Cos, or is this a new thing?
You usually use DW collector's kit. So when I first started the show, bought the exact sizes that Mick used. But it was a custom kit. It was very expensive. It was in this beautiful amber silk finish that not many people have got, and it was great. It was great for so many years. And then in America, when we were in America, I tried a performance kit, DW, because there was all the top players, of which I am not one, but all the top players were using the performance kit and talking about it, and saying that the toms really sing out, and boy do they sing out.
And it's also a kit that's got to be incredibly versatile for a show like this as well, because we're doing Peter Green era blues stuff, and we're doing the most modern kind of Say You Will era stuff all on one kit, which is quite something. Tell us a bit more about what skins you're using. You're a Remo endorsee, aren't you, as well?
So use Remo skins throughout the whole kit, but on this particular gig, we've got to have an open sound, a very open sound, because again, if you listen to Mick's kit, it's a monster sound live. But also we need to have a little bit more control here, because as Scott will most probably tell you, this is about note for note. It's not a Cos fill, it's a Mick Fleetwood fill. So we have coated Emperors on the kit, but you'll see later on, there's hardly any masking on them. It's all really down to the mics and the front of house sound and the sonics.
And the tuning of the drums, of course.
And the tuning of the drums, Scott, that's very important. What's really crazy, and I shouldn't really be saying this, is that for this particular concert, I'm using a World Max snare drum. That's sapella wood, but it's really, really thin. But the drum itself is very versatile. Just with a little bit of tuning, you can take it to the 60s sound that we need. So, in an ideal world, I'd use a Ludwig 400 for the Peter Green.
Of course, the classic sound with that.
Sound, yeah. What we tend to do here is just change the sonic of the drum in the Peter Green era, so it's very versatile, man. So that's a great drum. It's a World Max sapella wood. Again, not many of them. If you find one of them, go and grab it, because it's a fantastic drum.
So cymbals-wise, when we started this show, you changed a lot about the way you set your cymbals up, and even the angles of your cymbals and the type of cymbals you used as well.
Yeah, I did. And and even you said, I think when you came along, Mick's got the big cymbals there, and that, I think I went as far as a 20-inch crash. So we've got dark K hi-hats. These are all traditional Zildjian A's, but the large, the big ones. So 19, 20, little piggyback on top there, little splash for a few sort of accented things. And then I think we all love the ride, or I certainly do.
It's a great sounding ride. All your cymbals sound incredible, but that ride is something else, and you can hit it as a big crash as well, can't you?
It's a crash cymbal as well, which is great. And years ago, you think, well, a ride is a ride, a crash is a crash, but you can get something in between if you go and root the right thing out. So again, those cymbals are what Mick would use. A little bit of magic here. We use a TM2, which is a Roland. So we trigger a few things off from here onto a pad on the 10-inch drum there.
And that's for songs like Seven Wonders. We have a little sample that's the same kind of thing that's used on the original.
I think you spent about 2 hours getting the exact sound. Scott's a bit of a genius on sonics, but I think Scott spent a couple of hours getting the right. It's
like a clay sound, isn't it?
It's a weird sound, but it's the exact sound. So that's triggered off. So if you see the gig, if you come and catch the gig, and you say, "Hang on, where's the conga patterns come? Where's those sonics coming from?" you know, more than likely it'll be coming off the
There's
T-bar.
a couple of triggers on the drums.
There's a couple of triggers as well.
And also a couple of song-specific things. We've got the cowbell for you, for Goldust Woman, and for Oh Well.
Yeah.
No, it's a cowbell. It's a big one.
It was a pitch thing though as well.
Yeah,
remember
absolutely.
we tried a few things. The beauty of, well, Scott's our MD, but we can kind of sit on things and listen to things and go, do you know that's not quite it, is it? You know, so we do go hunting when we're on tour for things, but we found that cowbell, and it sounds, again, what we're saying, it sounds like the recorded cowbell.
It's got that vibe, that slightly deeper sound,
Yeah,
and dampened down a bit.
definitely.
Also, another thing that Mick uses a lot, especially in the more recent times, is these Mark tree or bell tree sounds that, I mean, all over the Dance album, it's covered in it, isn't it, with him or Lenny Castro on percussion.
And do we wish we could have a percussionist?
We kind of do.
So you know, a few tinkles along the way.
And finally, we have a gong.
It's the gong, yeah. So we use that on the end of Goldust Woman, and then at the end of the night, we do a tusk. Obviously, we do tusk, and it's very rhythmic and it's very anthemic, and I do a bit of a Muppet drum solo, and then we always end with a couple of
big gong hits.
Big gong hits, and thanks to the drum gods. And
Absolutely.
so you know, so there it is, DW performance kit for the Rumours of Fleetwood Mac gig, with all the little gizmos.
Sticks wise,
We use, well, thick fir, thick 5Bs, woods. And these days I'm using some tape, which I couldn't go to gloves, because I've never played with gloves. But it just helps, you know, we get really hot on some of the gigs, don't we? So so just lately, been using stick wrap, and you know what, it's not that bad, it feels good, and it prevents me from dropping the sticks.
And that's about it. We've got a couple of bits of tambourines and stuff, but that's about it. And thank you so much, Oz, for chatting to us. Yeah,
Great Scott.
Good man. I'm in shot.
Being shot.
I'm in shot.
I'm
Dave
in shot.
Goldberg, the
I'm in
legend
shot.
of Liverpool.
I get lost.
Absolutely. What gear are you using, Davey?
Well, I'm using at the moment, so I'm using a Core Kronos, and that's for basically all the...
That's the bulk of your show, isn't it, really?
Sounds, you know, anything from marimbas to piano to Wurlitzer, Fender Rhodes stuff, strings.
It's such a powerful keyboard to use for all that stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and it's been great for the few years. You know, I'm just about to kind of change over. I was thinking of getting the 88 version of this. This is the 61, and because I did away with I had a controller keyboard here.
You used to have an SV1, didn't you?
Yeah. SV1 controller in this as well, so give me options of moving about a bit. But if I go for the 88, that's all in one. It's weighted keyboards and everything.
And you got the whole shebang.
Got the whole thing, you know.
And
for that.
most interestingly for me, we got this bad boy, haven't we? The Hammond.
Yeah, we got this, which is the Hammond XK3C. It looks about 50 years old because I don't look after keyboards very well, that has to be said. It's a few years old, but it's definitely something which is great for this show, you know.
It's an awesome sounding piece of kit and a very small kind of format keyboard with all the Hammond sounds.
It is, yeah. It's the kind of the best you can get in the portable kind of Hammond. Although I've got a bottom, you can add a bottom manual to this, so it gives it the two keyboard thing, you know, if you need it, you know, for various gigs.
And in terms of, has this got a tube in it as well, Dave?
It's got a tube in, the just at this end, and that gives you the overdrive. You know, you can get that Hammond growl, you know, with that, and it's such a great sound. I mean, it's consistently great, and it's not got that huge volume thing, and of course the crew actually can carry it around. That's right. Yeah, it doesn't kill anyone.
Absolutely.
No back-breaking lifts, you know. So.
What about the Leslie?
Leslie-wise, I used to use the Leslie for this gig. Well, I do for quite a lot of other gigs, but for this one, we decided, you know, for the whole convenience thing.
And really. We travel so much, don't we, these days, and we're all over the world. And
so it saves having this big TARDIS thing behind me, whirling around. So what we use here is a neo vent ventilator, which basically is a Leslie.
And that's your Leslie, isn't it?
Yeah. In a box that big. Gives me slow, chorale, slow speed, fast speed. That gives overdrive as well. It's really a brilliant piece of kit for this gig, you know.
Yeah, and they sound great. I mean, I've been wanting to try my guitar through a ventilator for a while now, so that's an interesting thing to check out. But if you're into those kind of Leslie sounds in the smaller scale, I think they're about as good as they get at the moment, aren't they?
It's
certainly
fantastic, yeah. And it's certainly, you know, it's going through, it's coming out, you know, through leads into DI boxes, through a massive cable going to this massive PA.
Yeah.
And by the time it's got there and everything, it's just, you know, it sounds great anyway.
And it's consistent, and volume-wise, it just makes life a bit easier, doesn't it? As much as we both love Leslie's.
Oh, yes. And I would
So when are we bringing the Leslie out then, Dave?
Well, I was thinking of bringing the Leslie out and sticking the Neo vent in the Leslie.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, having the Leslie empty, but, you know, just having that wheeling. But probably at some point we'll be dragging the big white Leslie. The
Absolutely.
Out, like.
And of course, you sing the Peter Green stuff as well, that we have a bit of fun with.
Yeah.
And you play a bit of guitar on stage.
Yeah.
I'll show the guitar later on, but you've got a couple of guitars with you as well. You've got your Gretsch. What's that? What model is it?
That's the 6120, isn't it? You
Classic 6120 in black.
Yeah, black. Yeah, of course, has to be black.
Oh, it should be red, shouldn't it? Surely.
Well, it should really, yeah, being a red. Excuse me, Evertonians. There you go.
Cool.
And if you're not a proper guitar player and you're not exactly, you know, Scott Poley on one, you know, you want it to look good. That's the basic.
Well, we want it to look good regardless, don't we? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you have an acoustic as well. It's a Takamine?
I do. It's Takamine, and that's the EN10. And I was dead lucky with that because I bought it in Micro Music when Micro was on.
Micro Music in
great,
Liverpool.
You know, yeah, it was a brilliant shop, and I got that on haphazard payments at the time. It was like, you know, just pay when you just go in with money when you could, and they were great like that. The guys who owned it, you know, and I've had that ever since. The place great. It's just a nice guitar. You know?
Yeah,
it's not everyone's cup of tea, but it, you know.
Yeah, and you use that for Oh Well and a couple of the other acoustic bits, don't you? When we do certain tunes.
Different tunes. And this tour's been great. We've had fun.
We've had fun. Lots of days off and lots of days on.
Lots of days off. Yeah, lots of sleeping and drinking and
absolutely
eating.
And of course, if you've not seen them and you're in the Liverpool area, go and check out the Oil Chickens.
I would.
Not
definitely.
Bad.
Not bad at all.
Dave's in them. They're good.
Anyway,
thanks so much, Dave.
Thank you. Peace, brown rice. See you later.
Thanks, brother. So I thought you'd like to see Emily's keyboard rig. Em's just getting ready for the show. So this is 99% of her show. The Korg Chrome 61 key unweighted keyboard, and that's piano sounds, electric piano sounds, an organ sound for a couple of tunes, clav sounds, but the whole lot synth is all in this really versatile little keyboard. Not a lot of people talk about these, but they're really versatile and the sounds are great. And the band is endorsed by Korg, so thanks to Korg for these. We have 2 of these, so we have a spare, not that we've lost one yet, touch wood. That goes to a Boss FV500 stereo volume pedal for swells, for songs like The Chain. And then for Songbird and Silver Springs, Emily has this Yamaha P35 weighted piano keyboard, and that is MIDI'd across into the Chrome as well to get this big, nice piano sound. So it's a really small keyboard rig. We're using this quick lock mic stand because it allows her to tie the mic stand into the keyboard rig, and it's just, lean and mean, very effective, great sounding setup. Emily does play all her parts live. There's lots of people that speculate online that she doesn't play live or whatever, but believe me, she's a really great pianist, great keyboard player, and great singer. So she plays everything live on this lean and mean little setup. Thanks so much for watching. If this video has been of use to you guys, I'd love it if you would like the video, subscribe to this channel, ring the bell icon. Also go and check out Rumours of Fleetwood Mac's YouTube channel as well. There'll be some new content coming out there soon as well, I'm sure. Thanks so much for watching. Catch you next time.